Whether you've just been diagnosed with PCOS or you've known about your PCOS for a really long time, we often get to a point where we decide that it's time to make some changes. Either that we want to be healthier, we want to be fit, we want to eat better. And so we go all going home, we go 100% on these decisions that we've made, only to be sidetracked and derailed in a couple of weeks' time. So before that happens, I want to give you 5 common mistakes that a lot of women with PCOS tend to make. So the first one is that we tend to treat the symptoms and focus on the symptoms without focusing on the actual PCOS. So what do I mean by that? Well, we might decide that we are tired of our hair growth and we'll go on an androgen blocker like spironolactone, hoping that that will deal with our excess hair growth. Maybe we'll be prescribed the pill. Maybe we want to lose weight, and so we change our diet with the focus and the goal being weight loss. But what we fail to realize is that if we don't address the core of our PCOS, the core of that hormone imbalance, as soon as you stop those medications, the PCOS will come back, with a vengeance. We have to address the core of the problem, which is our PCOS. Now the next question really would be, how do we go about addressing PCOS? And that is a huge question, a very valid question, but it's a huge answer. And in this kind of video format, it's very difficult to go into all the ins and outs of the things that we could be doing to deal with our PCOS. So I've put together a training video series that you can access at www.pcosmasterplan.com, and you'll get a whole lot more information on how you can actually go about tackling the heart of our PCOS. Mistake number 2 is that we tend to take too many supplements. Once we've decided that we want to manage our PCOS more naturally, we tend to research and decide on a huge range of supplements that we're going to take, and we take them all at the same time. And the problem with that is that you actually don't know which supplements are working. More importantly, you don't know which supplements might be causing some of those bad side effects. So I have a baseline supplement recommendation, which is ovositol or inositol, depending on where you are in the world and what you have access to, omega-3 and vitamin D. Those are the baseline supplements. Once you have those in place, then I would suggest, yes, you can add supplements, but I would add one at a time and give a break of at least 30 days in between adding new supplements. That way you know which supplements are working and which supplements are causing the negative side effects. Mistake number 3 is that we know that gluten tends to cause inflammation in our bodies, that inflammation often makes insulin resistance worse. Insulin resistance makes our PCOS much worse. So I've always recommended that you avoid gluten. So a lot of women, when they hear that I do not recommend gluten, go to the shops, they go to the gluten-free aisle or the free-from aisle, and they buy whatever they can find that is a gluten-free substitute, like gluten-free pasta, gluten-free bread, gluten-free cookies. And the problem with that is that those products use very highly refined flours. They are going to cause your insulin levels and your blood sugars to rise very rapidly. They're going to cause a spike in insulin. So instead of having the gluten-free substitutes, I would rather, instead of having, say, a sandwich for lunch, I would rather have soup or salad or leftovers. Don't necessarily head straight to the gluten-free aisle. Be careful of doing that because you're going to make your PCOS even worse. Okay, mistake number 4 is once we make these decisions, we tend to do too much too soon, and it's easy to get overwhelmed. So instead of just choosing to focus on the way we eat, we might choose to focus on lifestyle and stress management. We might choose to focus on exercise. We might be overhauling our diet, and that leads to this huge state of overwhelm. So what I recommend that you do is you choose one area, whether it be to start a new supplement regime, to start exercising, to change the way you eat. Start slowly. Once you've made those habit changes and you've become familiar and you are comfortable with one change at a time, then bring in the next element and go with that change. That way you're not going to be completely overwhelmed and you're not going to be completely derailed. Mistake number 5 is that we tend to feel that we're all alone. And I totally get that. PCOS is not a comfortable syndrome to live with. It often leads to a lot of embarrassing symptoms. It's something that we don't necessarily talk about with other people. I don't discuss my menstrual cycle with my friends necessarily unless they're very close to me. I don't necessarily discuss the hair that I don't want it. I don't necessarily discuss any weight struggles that I might be having. And that tends to leave us feeling very isolated. But the truth of the matter is that you're not alone. I recently read a statistic that said 6.8 million women in the US alone have been diagnosed with PCOS. So those figures are really astounding. The moral of the story is that you are really not alone. There are many, many women who fight the same fight and have the same daily struggles that you have. So don't lose hope, and I don't want you to feel isolated. There is a lot of support out there. So to summarize, the 5 mistakes that women with PCOS often make is they often treat the symptoms and not the PCOS. We often take too many supplements all at the same time and we don't know what's actually working. We tend to head for the gluten-free aisle, and that could be doing more damage than good. We often feel alone when in reality there are many, many, many of us with PCOS. And we also tend to do too much too soon. We often feel overwhelmed and can get derailed in our PCOS management. Just a reminder, I'd really suggest that you check out PCOSmasterplan.com. You'll get a lot of information, not only on PCOS, but more importantly, how to deal with it on a day-to-day basis.